The Milwaukee Bucks have been first-round exits for the last 3 years and just ended their season against the Pacers in literally the most heartbreaking way possible. After starting the series down 3-1 and not having Damian Lillard due to a blood clot and torn Achilles, everything came down to that Game 4. And despite a 30-point triple-double from Giannis and a 7-point lead with 30 seconds left, the team somehow managed to completely fall apart. Gary Trent Jr. went from having the game of his life to living an actual nightmare. Then of course, things got even crazier after the game. Giannis was ready to fight anybody and everybody, including Tyrese Halliburton's own dad. However, being the mature guy that he is, Giannis handled it exceptionally well. But the frustration of how the season ended, and really how the last few years have gone in general, has been very evident. It's been almost 5 years since they won that championship and haven't been close to getting back, even though Giannis is playing at a superstar level. He finished the series averaging 33 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists on 61% shooting. To average those numbers just to lose in 5 games is unbelievable. Some of the stat lines he had were borderline historic, and almost all of them were not taken advantage of. Giannis averaged more points, assists, and rebounds combined than anybody in the playoffs, while becoming the first player to ever have a 30-20-10 game when facing elimination. The fact that he can put up those numbers and nobody's really surprised shows you how underrated he is. He's been top 5 in MVP voting since the 2018-19 season, yet doesn't get talked about nearly as much as the other top candidates. Although, with the possibility of him being on the move to another team, that's definitely about to change. Giannis getting traded is not something the Bucks have to do, unless he requests a trade, then that might be a little different. He's under contract until 2027 and also has a player option going into that next season. It took the Bucks 2 years to make significant changes, and even then the front office still failed to build a complete team around them. They have a few key players, but their depth is essentially gone, plus some of those key players are only getting older. And it's not like they have the assets to trade for better roster pieces because they already traded away their picks trying to do exactly that. I mean, it was only a couple months ago when they traded Chris Middleton and a first-round pick swap to the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. Some things worked out well, but there were still many other areas of the team that were never addressed. And as we saw in that series against the Pacers, those holes in the team are still clearly there, and it showed that the team is very far away from a championship. But even then, that still doesn't mean Giannis should be out the door. However, the thing that literally changes everything is the injury to Damian Lillard. Dame was playing really well, and the chemistry between him and Giannis was much better this year than it was last year. But with him being out all of next year for sure, and then returning at 36 years old making $58 million, who knows what he's even gonna look like. The signs of Giannis possibly leaving were always there, but Dame's injury almost feels like the cherry on top. If he never got hurt, then they could continue to try to grind it out, but with him being out for the foreseeable future, everything's now different. The near future for the Bucks is dark. They can't enter a rebuild because they have no picks, and they can't really grab new players to push for a championship. Half the team are free agents, and they don't control their first-round pick until 2031. The Bucks only own 1 second-round pick for the next 6 years. Not to mention, they've already had 3 coaches in the last 3 seasons, so there's not even consistency there either. The fact that Doc Rivers is still getting hired blows my mind, although he joins the very prestigious club of head coaches to win an in-season tournament. Putting them on the same staff together is actually criminal. Literally, the only thing that might be able to turn things around is trading Giannis for as many picks as possible, which absolutely sucks and isn't something you want to happen at all, but it's come to a point where it's almost the best case scenario for both parties. Giannis has given the city everything they can ask for and almost single-handedly put the Milwaukee Bucks on the map again. I mean, Milwaukee's his home away from home, basically what Luka had with Dallas times 2. Things might have not turned out exactly as everyone would have hoped, but he still won a championship and led them to the playoffs for 8 straight years. To say his time with the Bucks has been a failure is very far from the truth, and maybe it's the best thing for both situations. Giannis can go try to win a championship with a team that's more ready to win now, and the Bucks get to figure out what their new identity is going to be with some brand new assets to build around with. The Bucks have tried year after year to get to the championship, and once they finally won it, they've been trying year after year to get back. But despite one thing or another, they've continued to come up short. Like I said, they've been first-round exits for the last 3 years, and Giannis is somehow 3-8 in his last 11 playoff games while averaging 37 points, 14.5 rebounds and 6 assists a game. A lot of those performances were as good as it gets too, yet it only led to 3 wins. From an outsider's point of view, they've tried everything, and the only reason I'm even saying trading him is possibly the best option is because of the injury to Damian Lillard. If that never happened, then I'd still be optimistic about building around that duo because although the season had massive ups and downs, they were looking a lot better. But for me, that injury changes the entire trajectory of the franchise. It makes it so winning immediately is not really an option, and as much as I hate to say it, Giannis is 30. That championship window only remains open for so long. You have to take advantage of it while you still have it. He's already publicly called out the front office on several occasions and made it pretty clear that winning is his #1 priority. And since then, if anything, things have only gotten worse, although some of that stuff that happened is out of everybody's control. I'm gonna be honest, if he stays with Milwaukee through all of this and continues to push on, then they better build a statue of him that same day and possibly name the arena after him. But if he does decide to leave, the big question becomes, where does he go? Right now, every single team in the entire NBA is trying to figure out how it would be possible to trade for Giannis. It would be an absolutely massive deal that for the Bucks' sake hopefully includes several picks and a couple players or player that could be a part of the future. Unless they pull a Nico Harrison and trade him for the very first offer they receive. But there are 2 teams that can basically give more picks and players than anybody else, and that's the Houston Rockets and OKC Thunder. Yes, 2 teams in the Western Conference. It's inevitable at this point. The Rockets have picks and some young players they would be able to move in a Giannis trade. Although the fit definitely wouldn't be perfect right away, they have some guys it would be really cool to see Giannis play with. They're still one of the top destinations for him. They would just need to get some shooters on that team right away. Then the Thunder have what feels like unlimited assets to give away. They could trade for Giannis twice if they wanted to. But the craziest part is, I don't even know if that's what OKC wants. What they have going on right now is working, and unless they somehow get swept here soon in the playoffs, I'm not sure we see any major changes coming. If they did though, who knows what that team could possibly look like. Then there's the next tier of teams that could possibly put together some type of package that could look good under certain circumstances. Like the Spurs could possibly put together one of the greatest big man dynamic duos in NBA history. That would actually be incredible, but there's also teams like the Grizzlies, Pelicans, Heat, and Nets. I've seen people throwing out the New York Knicks, but I don't think I see that happening. They already sold their soul for Mikal Bridges, and they just got Karl Anthony Towns. And no, there is zero chance that he becomes a Laker. Even if they somehow got handed yet another Luka type of deal for Giannis, their starting lineup would be him, Luka, LeBron, Bronny, and Alex Len. There would be absolutely zero depth on that roster. And you also have to factor in that there is a solid chance that Kevin Durant will be on the trade market as well, so that can shake things up too. Again, I don't think any trade will happen unless Giannis wants it to happen, or at least gives the okay to mutually look for one. If this is the end of his career in Milwaukee, then it sucks it has to end on such a heartbreaking note, but whoever gets him will be adding one of the best players in the world, and maybe then he'll finally get the respect that he deserves. This is the same guy that this season averaged 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 6.5 assists a game on 60% shooting. He's been averaging 30 points a game for the last 4 years. Giannis literally had an unbelievable 59-point two-way performance against the Pistons just to beat them in overtime. And you cannot talk about this season without bringing up his 35-point, 17-rebound, 20-assist game against the Sixers. The first game I mentioned was one of the best performances I've ever seen from Giannis. But that game against the Sixers was one of the best performances I've ever seen from anybody. He can do stuff that almost nobody else in the league can do, and to make it even better, Giannis is just a likable guy in general. All he wants to do is win, and he's been one of the most humble players in the league throughout his entire career. So regardless of what he does, I will always be rooting for him. But let me know what you think Giannis and the Bucks should do, and please leave a like on the video to support the channel. Also subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.